an incredibly entertaining test match. History witnessed, and I think the scariest bit is the fact that they chased down with only 3 wickets down. It makes you start to think, what is possible in this Bazball generation? I don't know. I'm scared. I'm excited, but I'm scared for the future. And it's also great to just think back to the winter and how bad it looked and how it felt like there was, little hope and this team was going backwards. We looked some good decisions. I think we also have to mention Rob Key making decisions of people like Brendan McCullum, a different way. Ben Stokes comes in. I'm excited for the next phase.
I can't make a lot of sense of it. I thought that India had thrown it away a little bit in their third innings by not really putting the foot on England's throat, so to speak, and getting up to 450 or 500. But I'm now thinking that it wouldn't have made any difference.
Not the way they're going about it.
Well, I suppose it would have made a difference in that India would have had the use of a second new ball. And maybe on reflection, they'll look back at that third innings. And it's happened a fair bit this summer, hasn't it? New Zealand a couple of times in the third innings didn't quite get as far ahead as they might have liked to have done. But then England surprised us with these absurd record run chases. And have you ever seen 2 batters in the form of their life like this, playing together? It's amazing.
Yeah, it's great, but I also think the tone was set by Alex Lees and Zach Crawley. That clearly comes from the confidence. So it allowed them to come out going, look, we've got that start that we would need to chase something down. And then they are just seeing the ball in another stratosphere, to be honest. What I like as well is the flexibility of these characters. Joe Root comes in, and the master, you were talking about it on highlights last night, the way he works the ball, milks the ball, just keeps things moving so the bowlers can't get set. And then Johnny Bairstow showing that he can, he doesn't have to always bludgeon the ball. He's got that test match mindset. When he needs to keep things calm, he does. And when he needs to take the attack, he does. It's just great to see that flexibility within the batting lineup.
Mark, I don't quite understand what we've witnessed here. The highest run chase in England's history by a considerable margin, 19 more than the previous one. That one ended with everybody in the Headingley box with no fingernails left, and England win by 1 wicket with one of the innings of the ages. But we've sort of seen 2 innings for the ages in this, and no tension at all, and England romped to victory.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of elements that come together. First and foremost, it's the skill of the England batsmen and the manner in which they've played. That must be said. It's a big thing when you get picked for your country, and it's the pinnacle of your career, to go out and play in such a fashion, almost with abandon, to shake off that importance of the match, really, and for what it means to your career. It's not easy to shake that off. The England environment has managed to do it. It's a huge thing. So first and foremost, the skill of the England players. I think we've had a perfect storm, really, in certain elements coming together that have helped that, i.e. the pitches have been very good. They've retained how good they are. Yesterday, watching the cricket with the sun out, the pitch looked baked, flat. It didn't deteriorate as perhaps we've seen in the past. So that also helped. The new ball did nothing for the Indian seamers. It hardly moved off the straight, and there was no real spin for Jadeja. So lots of elements sort of came together to kind of aid the England cause and the run chase. And I guess, India, of course, Jasprit Bumrah, the Indian captain, first time as a captain, and I think he ran out of ideas, quite frankly. They will review their tactics, I'm sure, for their bowling, where they conceded a lot of runs on the leg side, which is unusual in Test cricket. So that's something that the Indian team will look at. And also, as you mentioned, the way that their second innings pretty much came to an end in very soft circumstances. The dismissals, when they could have really put the foot on England's throat, they kind of let England back in. I say let England back into the game. It's a huge run chase.
It didn't feel like it
we keep
yesterday,
coming back to the
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
But when you put the elements together, the flatness of the pitch, no movement for the Indian seamers, no real spin for Jadeja, suddenly you had all the ingredients for England to come out and play in the manner, and they did. And there was a wobble. It got very tense around tea time, just after, when we had the run out of Alex Lees. Ollie Pope went quickly, and you just wondered, is this going to be a real wobble? But the calmness and the assurance of Bairstow and Root, they never really looked in any trouble. They took their time, they played themselves in, and then they just seemingly scored at will.
You mentioned Jadeja got no turn, and it's true. Jack Leach did get a bit, actually, and he was causing a few problems, and the wicket of Rishabh Pant feels to be really important, actually. Thinking back to yesterday, he got in with a reverse sweep, which he caught up with, and Root took that splendid reaction catch, but he'd forced Punt into doing that because he was actually turning the ball a fair bit out of the foot marks, a lot more than Jadeja did. Other guys, I suppose, who'll look at their shot. Shreyas Iyer, I mean, he just pushes a little short ball straight into the hands of Anderson at mid-wicket. The tail didn't bat particularly intelligently, did it? And there are players there who can bat. We've seen what Bumrah can do. We've seen what Shami can do. But I wonder, I was talking to a couple of guys in the green room there, and they were saying, well, India's not adapted to the game England are playing, because England are playing white ball cricket when they're batting out there. And maybe Jadeja needed to bowl more white ball. Maybe Bumrah needs to have some more variations, more slower balls. I mean, I think back to Lord's last year when he sort of broke the game at Lord's when he got Ollie Robinson out, I think it was. Or was it Butler? Ollie Robinson out, coming from round the wicket, and he bowled us a slower cutter into the pitch. It's a very white ball, very T20 IPL type ball. Got him LBW. There just wasn't that variety. And Bairstow's defending the ball so well when it's straight, and then just whacking anything that's in his half. I wonder if they could have mixed it up a bit.
Well, yeah, I'm sure those will be questions that they'll be asking themselves. I think with the pitch remaining so good and there's so little movement either in the air or off the pitch, it was a very difficult task for the Indian bowling attack, no question about it. I do agree with you that they potentially could have mixed their pace up a little bit. But if you look at it, the wickets that came, I mean, obviously Alex Lees was run out, but the dismissal of Crawley was for a ball that came back from outside off stump, and the batter made a mistake, a misjudgment, and then a delivery that Ollie Pope nicked, which was probably around four and a half stump, just had a little flirt with it. It bounced a bit on him and he nicked it behind, which a batsman can do early in their innings. But those two dismissals came through orthodox line and length in Test cricket. And India seemed to get dragged into bowling very straight, which perhaps is a white ball tactic, not to allow players width to throw their arms at the ball. But the England batsman, particularly Joe Root, who had over 50% of his runs yesterday, were down to fine leg or through square leg. Now that is a ridiculously high number in Test cricket. So I also think he perhaps let things drift a little bit, Jasprit Bumrah, rather than setting England a new problem. Look, you know, it's tough, but I'm sure the Indians will be asking many questions.
Thanks, Mark. Well, you stick around because we'll be much more chew cutting to be done. But we're going to head down to Jonathan Agnew, who's down there, I believe. Hello, Jonathan.
Yes, hello, Dan. What an extraordinary morning it's been. An hour and a half for England to knock off those 119 more runs they needed. That incredible stand worth more than 250. Started at 150, and I'm gazing into the eyes of someone who's, well, I don't know, Joe, if your batting can get better and better, but it just seems to.
I'm really enjoying it at the minute. And it's, you know, it's great fun, it's great environment, great atmosphere. And I think guys generally get the best out of themselves when they're having fun, and trying to keep that as much as possible, turn up to training, looking forward to it, enjoying it. And similarly, when you get the opportunities out there in the middle, just relish the opportunity and the challenge. And you know, when you've got guys constantly putting bowlers under pressure at the other end, it does make it a lot easier for you. And I think you know, we're really starting to start to see, you know, how big an impact playing in this manner can have on this format of the game.
And personally, I mean, can you judge individual hundreds as they come up? It just seemed to be that one had everything. It had your full repertoire in there.
No, it obviously felt like I played nicely. At times, felt like it was a bit of a struggle, but sometimes that's what you need just to get you through those difficult moments. And you know, obviously, put us under pressure, running Leesy out. You know, that cluster of wickets there, and knew how crucial it was that we got that partnership going. And so the form Johnny's in at the minute, it's a joy to stand at the other end and watch him go about his business. So it's great when you sat up there in the dressing room, you know that whatever they set you, we're going for it, we're going to take it down, and there's full confidence and belief in the ability that we have to go and do that. And the 4 chasers that you've seen this summer, they've sort of got better and better. And I think the nice thing about this one was, firstly, the opening partnership, the way that they put them under pressure. Looking at arguably one of the best attacks in world cricket, and the 2 young lads came out the blocks as they did, but it wasn't reckless, it was calculated, it was smart batting, and it really laid the foundations and set the platform for us to go on and do what we did. And it's always difficult as a fielding side to recover from something like that. And when me and Johnny got that partnership going again, felt like they sort of broken the back of the chase and made it a little bit more comfortable for us. So a lot of credit has to go to those 2. They were exceptional.
Of course. It's interesting looking at the 50s and the scoring rate, in that the first 2, yes, run a ball. It was a runner ball after that, but then that middle one, when you and Johnny first came together, I think it was 104 balls for the 50s. So it just suggests that even with Bazball, there is that opportunity or necessity actually just to start again.
Yeah, and I don't think at any stage there's an expectation that every over has to go at 6 and over or more. Like, I think the really important part of Test cricket is recognising crucial moments in the game and being able to absorb pressure. That's something we speak about there all the time. And I think we've done it well. But the thing that we've started to do really well is when we get the opportunity to put it back on the opposition, we've taken it and we've been ruthless with it and drove it home extremely well. And that's something that we've just got to keep doing more and more often, and keep enjoying, and keep that confidence from the way that we've been playing, because I can imagine when you're playing against it, it's very intimidating. It must be very difficult to captain and to set plans against as an opposing team.
Have you had to change your mindset at all? I mean, you'll put me away, Joe, if you want to. Just looking at the first innings, perhaps you were just looking like you were trying to actually straining a bit to move on with things. Is that a fair comment or not?
I just don't think I quite got myself going, to be honest. You have some days where it's harder than others, and even in the second innings, throughout this whole game, the first half of that second innings, the first innings as you mentioned, it felt like a real battle, and struggled just to get some sort of rhythm and feeling out there. But that's how Test cricket can be sometimes, and it's just, I suppose, trying to stay mentally strong enough to know that if you stay out there long enough and you get a partnership going, and like I say, when Bluey's going at the other end like that, he's putting the pressure on him. Your fielders go, you can start to rotate and you relax, and the board's always moving, and like everything becomes a lot easier. And that's where dovetailing and partnership batting is so important and so useful. And he got me going really. Some days you wake up and as you know, as a bowler, it comes out your hand really nice and you feel in real rhythm, and other days you don't, and you just got to work hard until it clicks in. And thankfully it sort of clicked in towards the back end of last night and then this morning again.
Yeah. Have you changed your mindset at all? I mean, you're a busy batsman anyway, you score at a rate, but are you conscious of what's going on around? Yeah,
in periods of it, yeah, definitely. It feels like at times it's very much similar role to what I do in the white ball team. Someone like Johnny's going, give him as many balls as you can, get him striking and putting pressure on the opposition as often as possible. And then there are other times where they come into your areas and you try and make it difficult for them to bowl 6 balls in the same spot. And I guess just trying to manage your game as smartly and as low risk as possible, but while still putting the opposition under pressure where you can.
Joe, it's been a delight to watch you bat. Thank you for the entertainment. It's been brilliant. Well played. Go and enjoy your day. There we are. Joe Root scored his 28th century today, and played a huge part in seeing England home. As usual, he sort of played his part down as he tends to do, and he's walked straight off the field. Having scored those runs, he's done a round of interviews. So to see that smile again, Tuffers, it's really nice. He's a sparky fellow, and he had a hard time in the Ashes and West Indies, but to see the smile on the face and the way that he's batting at the moment is incredible.
It's sublime batting. It's just relentless ticking over of the strike and gorgeous shots for 4. It is just something to behold. Absolute privilege to be here this morning. And as you said, such a smile. Him and Johnny Bairstow, when they knocked off those runs, great big hug and everything. It's great to see. But I mean, let's not just forget, it's the batting. He's made that look routine, John. He just knocked it off. We came in this morning slightly nervous, didn't we? Us old timers. If they lose a couple of wickets, we could be in trouble. Not a care in the world. Just went about his business. Never looked like giving a chance or getting out.
It's worth a reminder, if you look through the match, India put into about 416.
I know.
England bowled out for 284 in 60 overs, so a lead of 132, and it could have been worse than that if Johnny Bairstow hadn't got his 100. And then India, well, they were beautifully set up, but then bowled out for 245, but still 378 to win. It's enormous, and England knocked them off by 7 wickets.
I know. I'm just trying to take it all in, mate, and absorb it and what have you. I mean, listen, if they were set 550, I think they would have knocked them off. It's as simple as that. They had no answers, India, to just some amazing batting and an amazing game of cricket. Well done, mate.
Here's Ben Stokes. I don't know how to start this. I mean, it just seems to get better and better.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. Don't know. I don't really have much fear, to be honest. I guess yeah.
I was just running through the course of that match with toughers. I mean, it's worth remembering that India scored 416. England gave away a lead of 132. Obviously came back in that second innings to bowl about 245, but still, all those runs to score 378. I mean, that's immense.
It's just the change, you talking about mindset and everything like that, but when you've got real clarity in what you want to achieve as a team and how you want to play the game, it makes things a lot easier, if that makes sense. Like, we know what we were going to do. We were always going to go out and try and chase us down, from the get-go. I think a great way to explain it is that teams may be better than us, but teams will not be braver than us.
Is that your mantra?
That was actually quote Jack Leach. He said that to me about 2 minutes ago. So, and it's fantastic, way to sum it up at the moment.
The fear of failure has gone. That almost feeling from the Ashes and West Indies of almost inevitability of defeat has gone. How has that happened?
Well, I think I could just go back to what I said about 40 seconds ago. It's the clarity that we've got within the team, within the dressing room, and it's just...
That's easy to say, Ben. I mean, how have you actually done it?
That's it. It's the language that we speak and the mentality that we get across to everybody. It's amazing when you change the mindset and the language that you use in the dressing room. The results have looked after themselves in a way. It's just how we play the game. That's been the most important thing in the... from 5 weeks ago, that was the main thing, and yeah, awesome.
I mean, do you remember standing on that outfield at Grenada and how everyone felt then? It just felt like rock bottom, and to be standing here, it's only 3 months ago, 4 games ago, the whole thing's been turned around.
Yeah, well, obviously don't want to dwell on that because it's not what we're about. It's a complete new look England, the way that we go about it and everything like that. So, everything's just about building on what we've achieved over the last 5 weeks. So, yeah, it's just an amazing place to be right now, the England team.
Let's talk these 2 Yorkshiremen then. I mean, the form they're in is staggering.
Well, yeah, as the Yorkshiremen say, strong Yorkshire, strong England. But that couldn't be more true right now. These 2 are just phenomenal. Rooty has been for 10 years. Johnny has just been honestly ridiculous over the last 4 or 5 weeks. And he's got runs, but it's the way that he's done it in. It's just exactly what we talk about. And he's embraced it, he's gone out there and done it, and I just think the clarity that he's now been given in his role in the middle order has really helped him go on and do what he's done over the last 5 weeks. This is like watching Johnny play white ball cricket at the moment. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. And the openers, the way they came out at the start of that second innings?
Yeah, look, when you're chasing 380, obviously the tone's always set by the openers. And I think it was pretty obvious, even after the first 2 overs, what we were going to do. So, obviously Rooty and Johnny, and rightly so, will get the plaudits for that run chase, but you've got to set run chasers up. And what Zach and Leesy did at the top there was phenomenal against Jasprit Bumrah and Mohamed Shami. That's not an easy thing to do what they did there. You know, that'll probably get overlooked, but so much credit has got to go to Zach and Leesy at the top of the order about the way that they approached it and who they did it against. It was great viewing.
Do you set targets? Are you looking down the line? I mean, are you looking further ahead than the first test against South Africa?
Funny, obviously, Leesy and Zach put on the fastest ever 100-run partnership, and I told Leesy that, and his response was, right, well, we'll break it.
And that's good enough for you.
Yeah.
So it is. It's those targets. It's bettering. It's faster. It's harder. It's more and more positive.
Yeah, that's what, yeah. It's just, it's phenomenal. Like, I wish people could actually really understand what's going on in this dressing room right now. It's incredible. I honestly, if I say something, I'm just blabbering on. But all I can say is it's just incredible.
What music are you playing?
Don't know, one of Baz's dodgy Spotify playlists, but yeah.
It's working. Yeah. Go on, Ben, enjoy yourself. Thank you very much. Well, I don't know. I think even the captain's a bit lost for words with all of that. I mean, you probably couldn't hear that because they're all going on toughers. But I mean, even Ben seems quite lost for words in a way to describe it or to put into words the change that's happened.
Just hearing the crowd appreciating Johnny Bairstow for those two wonderful back-to-back innings. I mean, really, it's something special, isn't it, John? You're right. I mean, I was just sitting there trying to sort of let it all sink in. You know, the chases that have been achieved this summer have been absolutely extraordinary. And here he comes. Here he comes.
He's putting his champagne down. Hang on a minute. It's time for a photograph. But I think Johnny Bairstow has been on 5 Live more often than the Prime Minister these last few weeks. Johnny, I don't know what to say really. I mean, you've been on the radio more often than the Prime Minister these last few weeks. It's incredible. It's going from strength to strength.
Not sure that's a good thing or not.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's a good thing in this case, Johnny.
It's great. I mean, every time I get to speak to you, it's normally a good thing after a game. Yeah. So long may it continue. But yeah, Rooty's obviously got this award. I mean, extremely special the way he's playing, isn't it? And he's been playing for so long. I mean, yeah, it's awesome. It's a great environment that we're in at the moment. It's a fantastic way in which we're playing our cricket. Everyone's really enjoying playing and each other's success, and that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, you see, he gave you credit for how he's playing, and you're giving him credit for how you're playing. So where does it work out?
Well, just we'll share it.
Yeah.
Because if we're out there in the middle and spending time in the middle and together, we're in a good place.
Yeah.
We've done it for a long, long time together.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you started out as kids together. You have a long time, and here you are sharing that to knock off the highest ever. I mean, that must be incredible.
Yeah, it is really special. I mean, to knock off 370, whatever it was, I can't remember, 3 down. Obviously, it is very special. It's something that we will never forget. And I think after, was it day 2 or something, I got asked about what do you think's too many, and do you think you're going to go for it and everything. I said whatever the set, we'll try and chase it down, and that's exactly what we did. From the opening partnership, the way that Alex and Zach went out and started the innings, I mean, a huge amount of credit has to go to them with the way in which they went about it. The brand of cricket that we're trying to play, it was epitomised by that opening stand. It's not going to work every single time, but the intensity and the pressure that they put on world-class bowling in the 4th innings of a test match on day 4, it takes a huge amount of guts, a huge amount of courage and a huge amount of skill.
And support too, knowing that if it didn't go wrong, actually they would be backed.
Absolutely, and the skill level that they showed in order to go down there. I mean, for Alex to run down, then to reverse sweep, then to slog sweep Jadeja. I mean, he's bowling at nearly 60 miles an hour into the rough. That takes a serious amount of skill and courage, and obviously the way that Zach's gone about his batting. Look, there are going to be times the way in which he plays that it doesn't work out, but yesterday he was pretty much set for a massive score. the way in which he manipulated the ball, and when it came onto his legs, he clipped it through mid-wicket, and the contact points that he was playing with and getting his head into the ball, and it was just a pleasure to watch. It really was a pleasure to watch, and then that sets the tone for everything else, for Joe and I to then come in after 20 overs or 30 overs or whatever it was to then, well, try and finish the job.
Hammond, Parfitt, Gooch, Bairstow.
So much fun. The way he's playing.
400s in 5 Test innings. That's all that's done it. Some decent names in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some pretty special.
You and Walter Hammond.
I know. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought it? But no, look. Hopefully, it can keep going in that way. I mean. Yeah, I'm just living in the moment with my feet where they are at this moment in time. And
are you practicing? I mean, it's a silly question, maybe, but are you actually going in nets and risking dodgy surfaces or anything?
No, I'm not.
No, I didn't think you would.
I'm not really hitting too many balls. I'm having probably 5 minutes and walking out and just trusting myself and my ability. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, look, it's about confidence and going in with a huge amount of confidence. Look, going back to the old school, a few normal throwdowns, a few cuts, a few pulls, a few drives. Happy days. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks very much. And going from there, and it has gone back to the old school a bit. From right, okay, we're not meeting at 10 o'clock for an 11 o'clock start. We're getting here a bit later, doing what everyone needs to do, getting yourself right, to then be ready for the 11 o'clock. It's not the norm. People think the norm is, right, we'll have to meet at 10 o'clock and then we'll have to do a team warm up and at 10 past until 20 past, and then we have to do slips, and then we have to do this, and then we have to do that. It's a case of, right, we'll come together at 10:50 for an 11 o'clock start, having done everything. On day one it's different, we all get together, but then during the game we're adapting to the situation of the game, to different circumstances, which is great. There's a coffee run in the morning, all the lads on the WhatsApp group.
I've seen you with that.
Yeah, there's a coffee run, so everyone's taking it in turns to get the coffees and what have you. It's just really good fun, and I think that's coming across in the manner in which we're playing. A massive credit has to go to the bowlers as well, to take 80 wickets in the last 4 Test matches. Yeah. I mean, you'll be able to find out, but I can't imagine that's been done consecutively too many times. And then, the runs that the guys are scoring in the way in which they're scoring them is, it's great crack. I guess it's just good fun.
You can tell it is. Go and enjoy it, John. I keep saying that to you. Go and enjoy it. I know you are. You can see you are. Good man. There we go, Johnny Bairstow. He's having an extraordinary time, isn't he? A great crack, Aggers, a great crack. I mean, what can you say?
Well, it's coming across, isn't it? You know, so many smiles and so many faces. We turn up, we get the coffee, we react to the day's play, sort of in the dressing room. You know, it's not the same old stuff and everything. It's just wonderful to see. I mean, it's just been an amazing summer of Test cricket. I mean, we've seen some of the best chases you'll ever likely to see in Test match cricket. It just gets better and better, and there's nothing better than a run chase, is there? And to do it in that style and with that ease was just something to behold.
Let's get deep over. It's very noisy deep. I hope you can hear me. And obviously Jasprit Bumrah is speaking at the moment, so I guess there'll be some more noise. But I don't know, has it sort of sunk in a bit? What's happened here? I mean, you still had a faint hope this morning, but I think you recognised that it was an uphill battle.
Yeah, talking about sinking in, I mean, I started preparing myself from last night itself. So I did a fair bit of work last night as far as that is concerned. But having said that, obviously you had that little hope coming here this morning, picking up early wickets, and we've seen that happen before as well. But unfortunately, too good. Bairstow and Joe Root were very, very good again this morning. And and you got it off your hat and say, you know what? You just lost to a better side. Lost to guys who just outplayed you and outthought you.
What do you make of this style of cricket? Now, Alex Lees, yes, he plays shots in T20 cricket. He doesn't in first-class cricket. He is a dependable technique. Third ball of the innings, he charges Mohammad Shami and hoiks him over mid-wicket. Jadeja comes on. How's he going to play him? Well, he danced down the pitch and smashed him straight. He reverse swept him. I mean, there is a change here. Do you think it's going to catch on? Do you think everyone is going to start playing like this? What do you reckon the impact is?
First of all, it's obviously bittersweet. Bitter from a very Indian perspective. I mean, chasing down 378. But sweet when you look at the bigger picture and you look at it and say, you know what, we've been talking about how do we revive Test match cricket, how we get more viewership, more people following this format. And this is so refreshing. And this will definitely will be adapted by the other teams as well, because the success that England's got playing that with that approach, playing that way in the last 4 Test matches, and I hope England goes on and get more success playing this approach, because that's when it'll convince the others as well, because getting the right resources to play this approach is not too difficult in this day and age when you're growing up, this generation and the upcoming generation are growing up on a staple diet of T20 cricket. So having players and resources to play this approach is not going to be difficult. But yeah, I mean, it boils down to how much success England gets, playing this way, which they already have fair bit.
Well, that's the question, though, ongoing, isn't it? I mean, if they lose a couple of games playing like this.
And I guess the other important thing is the pitches so far has been really good to bat on. What would be the approach be and how successful this approach will be on pitches which are a little more helpful for the bowlers, let's say whether it's seaming or turning. So again, I mean, so far so good, but there'll be a few more tests up ahead, and I hope England are successful playing this approach, because that's only going to make Test match more interesting and more viewers coming and following this format.
We're going to wander off and go and speak to Jasprit Bumrah in a second. Mark Ramprakash is listening upstairs too. What do you make of that, Mark, and the question of other teams adopting this approach?
Yeah, I guess there's no question that the schoolboys will be watching this all around, and schoolgirls obviously all around the country, and want to emulate their heroes. Absolutely no question about it. It is a shot in the arm for Test cricket. It's been wonderful entertainment, and it will trickle down, and you will see club cricketers all over the country look to try and emulate their heroes. Of course, I think it's just the mindset. There are pitches that are not going to be as flat as this one, and batting will be tricky, but it's more the mindset that's the key thing. It's the attitude that if you get the opportunity to score, that you absolutely latch onto that ball and try and score. And I think that's the key thing. Joe Root, he said in the first innings he was a little bit out of rhythm. In the second innings, it was more like the Joe Root that we're used to seeing. He played to his strengths. Bairstow has played to his strengths, and that's the difference. Of course, players who are evolving, like Alex Lees, who's trying to establish himself at this level, to have the confidence and backing from your coach, your captain, and all your teammates. It's just, you can see his chest is puffed out. He absolutely believes in what he's doing. It's an amazing transformation in what we've seen in previous years.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think, did you hear me chatting to Ben Stokes? I mean, he seemed to have difficulty almost in putting the whole thing into words. Things are happening, and they're happening very fast. But he seemed to find it quite difficult to actually explain it. Did you think that as well?
Absolutely, yeah. I guess he's just caught up in the whole emotion of it. He's obviously doing a lot right, and sometimes with characters like, say, a Ben Stokes. I mean, just his presence, and Baz McCullum actually. Just their presence in the dressing room. They don't necessarily have to give Churchillian speeches, but their presence, the way they went about their cricket, it can be really inspirational. They're aligned, they think the same way on the game, and we are seeing that run into the team in all aspects of their cricket. The belief, conceding big first innings scores, and yet they still retain the mindset to how can they try to win from whatever position they're in. It was actually the captain, Ben Stokes, who knocked over the lower order of India to finish off their second innings and help England have that target to chase. So he was struggling for words, and I think we're all just taking it in, listening to everybody. Phil Tufnell, Deep. It's something new that we're seeing at the very top of the game in a format where, I don't know for how long, 150 years or whatever. It's been played at a different rhythm, and T20 with the modern day player playing T20, which is such a quick game, that is now moving into the longer format, and each team, and the England team, are trying to dominate proceedings. That's how they're trying to go about their business.
Yeah. We've moved slightly. We're waiting to speak to the Indian captain, Jasprit Bumrah, who's casting a rather lonely figure at the moment. He's up there on the podium, waiting for his teammates and England too, of course, to come and join him, because it is a shared series. So everyone will be going up there together to celebrate and lift the trophy and so on. But the poor fellow's standing there, arms folded, waiting for the others. So we're just behind the England team at the moment. Shorts and so on, looking quite relaxed. The Indian team, a bit disappointed. Over to our right-hand side, if it's joining us, England have won, and they've won handsomely, won at a canter by 7 wickets, and it took them about an hour and a half to knock off that record target this morning. So Ben Stokes is about finishing up down there, I think. Do you think everyone's going to play like this? Toughies? I mean, is this the future of the game?
Well, I don't know whether everyone has the ability to play like this. I think people are going to start looking around at personnel in their teams and who can sort of like come up with this brand or this fashion of cricket. I mean, it's thrilling to watch, and it really is exciting. You turn up every day and just not quite know where's the ceiling going to be. What's the next step forward for Test match cricket? Well, I think it's this. I really, really do. And they haven't been bowled over. It's not 3-day Test matches, is it? It's all gone to the 5th day with some fantastic cricket to view and some exciting, just exciting moments of the game. I think that, as Ramps was saying, people now, they're not going to get bogged down in Test cricket. They're going to go for the counter punch every time.
Right, let's have a quick conversation with He's the acting Indian captain. Jasprit, it's a tough game for you as the first game as captain.
Test cricket is never easy, isn't it? We don't expect any easy games. That's why you love Test cricket. Even if you've got good 3 days, you still have to come back and again give good performances. That's what happened. We had good 3 days, but on the 4th day we were a little short with the bat and we let the opposition in. So yeah, that's the way the game goes.
I mean, that really is it, isn't it? I mean, if you look at the scores of the game, I mean, you dominated so much of it.
Yeah, but that's what I said, isn't it? Test cricket is hard, and that is why every day you have to keep fighting and keep coming up with good performances. That is the beauty of it, and we fell short on the 4th day, so we let the opposition in.
Did you still think you had a chance this morning?
Of course, we always feel we have a chance. We went in with very good intensity. Obviously, things didn't work out, but we gave it our absolute best. And then whatever the result came our way, we are accepting it.
Can I talk to you about Bazball? What do you think of the way English cricket is playing? You're rolling your eyes like you haven't really heard of it yet, but I think it'll catch on, Jasprit. Do you think that more and more people will play the way that England are now?
I have not really given it too much thought, to be very honest, that how they are playing cricket. But if we are executing our things, if we are as a confident team, if we would have been ticking all boxes, then we would have been in very good space. Yes, whatever works for England team, good on them. That has been successful for them against New Zealand as well, and this worked today as well. But that is a sustainable way that they have to figure out. For us, we were very happy with the way we started, but if we would have been good on the 4th day, we would have backed our chances. So yeah, good on them, good for England cricket if they're trying to change their approach. But for our team, I've not really given it a thought.
I don't think Rahul Dravid is quite a Bazball man. He's the wall. I think they're both very different. Jasprit, it's lovely to see you. Thank you so much, and we'll catch up with you again soon. There we go. I don't think Bazball's going to India anytime soon. I'd say I don't think Rahul Dravid's quite the man either. But there you go. I mean, actually, funny enough, I don't think he'd heard of Bazball. It's clearly an expression that hasn't reached the Indian dressing room yet.
Well, it's a bit of a... I'm not a fan of Bazball, I must admit. But I'm a fan of the cricket that comes from it. Yeah. And I think that... the likes of India will look to adopt this. As Deep was saying, they've got so many good attacking sort of one-day players that it's going to be full of excitement as well. And I think people now are just going to start having a look all around the world about let's just reevaluate how we play Test cricket.
And when we meet again, Deep, I wonder if Rahul Dravid, I say, he's not necessarily that kind of player, but perhaps he is now. Maybe he looks at the wider game and how it's changed. He himself, of course, wouldn't have played in this sort of a way. But I just wonder if the Test matches, the next series that we play, will be played more like that.
I won't be surprised, but because if you look at the Indian side, I mean, let's say KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma, they all play T20 cricket, they all play all the three formats, Virat, they're all stroke players any which way. So I won't be surprised but again, as we were talking about, we'll see how it goes and how successful this approach is on different kind of pitches and conditions. And if it is, then absolutely is.
Okay. Good to see you, Deep. Thanks so much for your company. Tuffers, as always, too. It's been great fun down here. It's been noisy, a terrific entertainment, and great to catch up with all those players, too, that we've interviewed in the last 15 minutes or so. A wonderful, unforgettable win for England, and they've knocked off those runs in just an hour and a half this morning. Tuffers is away. You'll catch him on the highlights later. Dan, I'm going to hand it up to you to close things up.
Thank you, Jonathan. Charlie Ross said, our view from the boundary man, he said, you guys have the best job in the world. It didn't feel like that for much of the previous 12 months in the middle of the night, watching England perform so badly in one-sided test matches. But Andy Zaltzman, when you just watch 4 test matches like that, regardless of who wins, it doesn't really matter who wins, the way they've been playing, it's just scintillating, it's thrilling, isn't it?
It is extraordinary. But yeah, I enjoy the job, whatever the result, Dan. But looking at the 4th innings only this summer, England have scored 78 runs per wicket in the 4th innings, 1,252 runs, 16 wickets lost, and they've scored at 4.8 and over in these. So their highest chase today, the 3 others in their top 15 highest chases in 4 consecutive matches. So it's been a truly extraordinary sequence of matches, and we're just looking at Root and Bairstow specifically. Johnny Bairstow in 8 tests this year has scored 994 runs, more than in his 24 previous test matches. He scored 600s in those 8 tests. He'd scored 6 in his 79 test career up to the end of 2021. It's the most centuries ever scored in a calendar year of Test cricket, batting at 5 or lower in the order. Only one other player, Michael Clarke, in 2013 had more than 4 centuries at 5 or lower in a calendar year. Since coming to the crease in the second inning in Nottingham, he's now 589 for 3 from 96 and a half overs individually. So little over a day's play. He's 589 for 3.
That's an average of 196 by my reckoning.
It's pretty tidy. Yes, it's the 12th instance of an England player scoring 2 centuries in a match. Only Dennis Compton of the previous 11 instances has done so batting at 5 or lower. Joe Root, 737 runs in the series in the end. That's including the 4 games last summer and this game. That's the 5th most by an England player in a test series. He scored 600s in his last 8 home tests. So the 5 tests against India plus the 3 against New Zealand. He'd only had 1 home century in the previous 22. So we've seen 2 players reaching a sort of peak of batting perfection in their different ways. Bairstow had a prolonged dip in his career. Root had, without being sort of consistently failing, he hadn't scored consistent centuries for a long time before the start of 2021, and his conversion rate since then 11 out of 17 half centuries. Prior to that, 6 out of 32 he'd converted into hundreds. Bairstow 400s in 5 innings. The innings in between was 71 not out off 44 balls when he seemed on course for possibly 1,000 in about 3 hours had the game not ended. So
he denied Root 100 there, didn't he?
Yes. So these 100 stats could be even better, but for each other, essentially. So it's been glorious to watch. Just quickly on the, we've talked a lot about the effect of the balls on the cricket, and now comparing the first 30 overs with overs 31 to 80 in this summer so far. Wickets falling at 28 runs per wicket in the first 30 overs. That's actually a little down on recent seasons, but sort of in line with how it has been. And 58 runs per wicket from overs 31 to 80. And over the previous few seasons, it's been around about 32, 33. So it's we are watching a different game for various reasons.
Thank you, Andy. Trying to get my breath back from all of that. Mark Ramprakash is still with me. There were many things said in the last half an hour that were very notable. I'll just pick out a couple of them. I'll start with Jack Leach. He says, Ben Stokes said that Jack Leach said, "We may not be the better team, but we are the braver team." And that's to be the mantra for every game they play.
You're going to ask me to decode that, aren't you?
Yes, please.
I thought you might. Well, what does that mean? I think it means that, as I alluded to earlier, but when you get picked for your country, it's the biggest moment of your life, really. And it's the pinnacle of your career. And sometimes it's not easy to go out and remember that it's just a game of cricket. And I think that's what England are trying to say is, look, let's just strip it back. It's a game of cricket. Go out, play with a smile on your face and commit. Don't die wondering. Have no regrets. You know, as a batter, if you see it's something to score, you know, latch onto it. With the bowlers, you know, they're looking at, you know, Jack Leach is looking to turn it and rip it. You know, the seamers have pitched it up on an attacking length and try to make things happen. So I think that's what they're talking to about as a mantra.
And the other things that were noticeable, Ben Stokes trying to describe what was going on, couldn't really.
Yeah.
He just sort of was describing an atmosphere. Maybe Johnny Bairstow gave us a bit more of an insight onto that when he said, you know, he's not been in the nets. They don't all turn up at 10 o'clock and then do something from 10 till 10:10 and then slip catching from 10:10 till 10:20. It's like maybe they're being trusted. And is that part of it?
Well, it is, but it's what's right for this group and this individual. So, for example, it doesn't necessarily mean that every team now should be turning up at, you know, 20 minutes before the start and doing no warm-up or anything. It's not that. And it's not that young players shouldn't get in the nets and work hard at their game. I mean, Johnny Bairstow's hit thousands of balls in his life. He's got a lot of international runs under his belt. He's a very accomplished player, a lot of experience on different pitches. One thing that was mentioned was his clarity of role, and he seems to have found that beautifully.